Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator news and updates, and we have some new hardware coming down the line, quite a bit of information on that. Updates about how Sim Update 16 is progressing and what the feedback is, some tips and tricks if you guys haven't already discovered them, as well as a new helicopter that is hitting the market. If you are interested in any of my tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future guides that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. If you are looking for a well-performing and affordable head and eye tracking solution that works with both webcams and cell phones, then Be My Tracker is the software for you. Be My Tracker boasts a very simple setup and a very large list of customization options that make setting the both eye and head tracking to your desire. The eye tracking makes it very easy to glance down at gauges or look up at mirrors or maybe look over at your wingman when flying in formation, while being able to customize the head tracking to be able to turn your head as far as you wish and possibly be looking behind you at the same time. Be My Tracker currently supports over 200 games and simulators natively, and a vast larger amount in conjunction with the freeware software OpenTrack. Be My Tracker can be purchased on either Steam or on their website for only $30 US, making it one heck of a bang for your buck. They also offer a free demo on Steam if you wish to try it before you buy it. Pick up your copy of Be My Tracker using the link down in the description below. Alright, so real quick, now that Sim Update 16 has been out for a minute, let's go ahead and talk about what it touched on. Now, I did a full-length video on this. This one's going to be significantly faster, but in case you haven't had a chance to check on it, here are the highlights. Sim Update 3 Beta for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is still in progress and has not been yet released, but Sim Update 16 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 released the 5th of this month. Now, here are the highlights. Importantly, this update aligns Bing Maps data with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and fixes bugs in the time zone system, improves memory management for the Xbox Series S and X, improves the way nav data is handled for runways that do not exist in the sim, and brings support for the Honeycomb Aeronautical Alpha Lite. Beyond that, we have a majority of the changelog focusing on aircraft improvements as well as avionics. I'll touch on those highlights in a minute. Now, a couple of things that I have noticed, and again, guys, please understand that anytime that we talk about these performance changes and performance tips and tricks, what works for me may not do a damn thing for you. I'm just trying to share information as I have discovered it. If you do not already have a tool such as Process Lasso or something like that, I have noticed that there's significant improvement in the frame rate for me, not the frame rate, the significant improvement to even any of the stuttering in specifically virtual reality when changing Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024's CPU affinity to high. Just remember, never go above high. If you don't know how to do those steps, by all means, just hit the Google real quick. There are tons of tutorials on how to do that, but you can do it directly from the task manager. That I noticed that was a significant difference. The next thing was actually, as I always talk about as a trick that you should do anyway, anytime there's an update, is to rename the community folder. As a test, I renamed my old one back and got some very significant stuttering, lagging, and overall just slower performance. With the exact same mods in the new community folder, for whatever reason, everything was nice and clean and worked very, very smooth. So that definitely did have an impact for me in this particular build. And finally, me personally, on the latest NVIDIA driver, I have been having an issue. The previous release seems to be working very, very well. And that driver version is 576.88. I have noticed for me personally, 580.88 introduced some pretty significant lag and odd frame rate performance for me. This is on the RTX 4080 series. Now, I did this week also pick up a 5070 Ti, so the 50 series card on a second machine that I will be testing out, letting you guys know how the performance works, and especially in comparison to that of the 4080. So stay tuned for that video if you're interested in upgrading. We'll be talking more about that later in the week. So those are the big ones that I have noticed that have made a significant update, or I should say noticeable update for me. As far as aircraft goes, the Cessna Citation Longitude was the one that got the biggest aircraft improvements, including FMS initialization flow, properly simulated thrust reverse deployment, auto throttle logic improvements, a properly simulated pressurization dump switch, cast messages reworks, and a properly modeled run stop switch halo lights. The TBM 930 gets a new approach cue for the airspeed indicator and FMS initialization flow and electronic stability protection, or ESP functionality. The Dreamliner, gosh, I cannot talk, it's late at night. The Dreamliner also received a fix to prevent certain spoiler inputs from causing the airplane to spin out of control. I have not experienced that one, but I saw it on a YouTube video. It's pretty funny. And avionics updates, all of them. I'm just going to say all of them. I'm going to keep that one short and sweet. All of the major avionics suites, the 1000 NXI, 3000, 5000, 3X Touch, the 430, the 530, the Primus, and the UNS 1 Echo Whiskey all received pretty significant updates to their both feature list as well as a large fix to bugs and just overall system improvements. So Sim Update 16 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 has shaped up, to my opinion, even with the interesting issues that I did have to overcome, to be pretty damn good so far. I also noticed a fairly significant 20-second reduction in the load time. So from the time that I click the icon on my desktop to the time where I am at the dashboard ready to start selecting my aircraft and location, I noticed a 20-second reduction with all of my mods and add-ons loaded. So, wanted to point that out. Next up, CowanSim has released the Sikorsky at Sierra 76 Charlie Plus Plus for Microsoft Flight Simulators 2020 and 2024. Rotor heads, like me, honestly, I actually do prefer helicopters. I'm pretty picky about the ones that I like, I gotta be honest. Rotary wing enthusiasts CowanSim Simulations have released their rendition of the Sikorsky S76C. And again, this is for both 2020 as well as 2024. The aircraft boasts quite a gorgeous build. It is pretty impressive. This is now being deemed as CowanSim's new flagship, featuring complete system modeling, precision custom autopilot, a highly detailed model and textures, and interactive cockpit with tablet interface, optimized performance for smooth FPS. The developer quickly issued a few fixes covering some of the issues that came up at the launching, including Xbox controller inverted pedal inputs, Xbox controller AB buttons causing 0 to max collective, and missing in-sim checklists. The update was submitted on the day of launch, and so it is already available to those who are already using the aircraft. The CowanSim's Sikorsky 76 Charlie Plus Plus is available, again, as you guys have probably picked up now, for Xbox users, PC, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 at $37.99 US. I will definitely be picking this one up. CowanSim, I think, does an absolutely beautiful job with their already released helicopters, and the fact that they are deeming this now as their new flagship has me very intrigued. It certainly looks like absolutely gorgeous from the pictures and the screenshots that are available. I have not yet watched any content on this particular helicopter, but I'm looking forward to checking them out for myself, so stay tuned for that video later in the week. Next up, first, yes, guys, overhead panels are starting to show up, but I want to start this video, and this isn't to shoot anybody down, but I want to make sure you are all aware, because there are multiple developers coming up with mini overhead cockpits like this, and some larger, some have 2, 3, 4 different variants that you can purchase depending on what you're looking for. Some have just the mini cockpit layout like what you're seeing here. Some have damn near a full overhead panel. They all seem to be focused on Airbus at the moment, so to us Boeing pilots, we're going to have to wait a bit. But I do want to make sure that you guys understand, because I'm seeing very little publicity in regard to other developers, but I will tell you that I'm aware of 3 for a fact that have this currently in production and are getting ready to release them out to the public. So don't just jump on the first one that you see. Wait for the reviews. Make sure that you guys just sort of sit back a second and decide which route you want to go, because there's going to be a plethora of options to choose from. Now, with that in mind, let's go ahead and talk about this one, because this is pretty phenomenal. So first off, you guys remember Mini Cockpit. This was a company that is founded by 2 real-world Airbus pilots, so that obviously makes a huge plus for these guys right here already. But they've been hard at work for years transforming the home simulator setups into a mini-scale replicas. If you guys remember last year, they released the Mini FCU and the Mini FS. But for example, again, even talking about the FCU and the FS panels, keep in mind that you have companies like both WinWing as well as WingFlex doing something very similar. So there's going to be a lot of competition in these markets coming up, so stay tuned. So with that in mind, they are now taking a look at the overhead panel. This is something that many flight simulators have been deemed as a necessity for a very long time, and it's nice to see them finally starting to come around the corner. So the Mini OVHD or overhead is a small footprint replica of the overhead panel found in the Airbus 300 series aircraft, designed to enhance the realism of a home cockpit user at an affordable price. The panel features switches and buttons controls for mostly used common operations of an Airbus cockpit. So this, so you can see what they've sort of put here. We have landing flaps indications. You have your wipers, which I don't really consider that commonly, but I mean, yeah, okay, it'd be cool to have. But definitely the light switches, as well as the APU and external power switch, as well as seatbelt signs and dome lights. I do like all of those. But there's a twist coming to this, so stay tuned for that because there's more information on that. So, Mini Cockpit says that their hardware will feature high-resolution injection molded switches and rotary knobs that replicate the feel of the real aircraft controls. Now, this could be a real big difference because I haven't seen any indication that there are other companies matching the realism of the tactile feel of the real-world aircraft. So this could be something that's very specific to Mini Overhead or Mini Cockpit. So that's fantastic. Again, going to try. I am under. Not an NDA, but I can't speak to the other parties that I'm aware of yet. I can just simply tell you that they exist, which is why I keep referencing that, so keep that in mind as I continue. Okay, so I'm going to hit those points a couple of times. Let's get into some of the functions of this thing. So a couple of the key points about how this thing's going to feel is it's got a custom designed push button with 2mm travel featuring dual color LED. The dual color LED signifies that basically you're going to get a difference in, as you guys can see right here on the screen. You're going to have your fault lights, you're going to have your on lights, your avail lights, your on lights, etc., just like you would see in the real aircraft, so giving you that nice feel. The 2mm travel, I actually like that they put that in there because that means you're going to get a nice depression, a very intentional depression and actuation of the switch, much like I imagine they were modeling after the real aircraft if I would take a bed, right? So, very, very cool design. Now, coming back to the injection modeled switches, when you match that feeling with the travel and the lighting and the overall design of it, it's going to feel pretty realistic, and that part is cool. I mean, the most fun part for us guys and gals, I imagine the same way, is just simply pushing the damn buttons. Like, everybody loves pushing buttons, and the more realistic they are, the better they are. Now, let's talk about the flexibility and control because this is something that we wanted to definitely touch on here. So, the functions of the Mini Overhead panel include the aircraft lighting, anti-ice, ground proximity warning system, landing flap 3 push button, the APU operation, seatbelt signs, windscreen wiper controls, and according to Mini Cockpit, Airbus's distinct Cori push button switches will be replicated using a custom designed dual color LED buttons with a 2mm distance of travel. Okay, we just talked about that. While the visual, and here's we get into the functionality, while the visual layout of the Mini Overhead is authentic, users will have the option to customize the function of these buttons and switches to suit their needs and flight simulation software. So, just because it says it does XYZ, you can make it do essentially whatever you want. But let's talk a bit more about that, as you guys can see here on the screen. So you're going to have assignable push buttons and switch enable customizable function preferences. So packs 1 and 2, you can swap them, you can change them to whatever you like. But keep in mind that little asterisk down makes perfect sense. Like, how would it not be? But I get why they had to put there in black and white. Functional change only. The physical appearance of the switch remains the same. These are not touchscreen switches. They're actual, etched switches. So you can't change what they say on them, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, the last piece of this, the Mini Overhead is designed to be a modular product that will work either standalone or seamlessly integrate with the Mini FCU and Mini FS. So basically, you could have yourself an essential flight deck right there across your computer or across your desk that's going to have all three pieces brought together, and I imagine anything else that comes down the line. So that is pretty dope. This allows users to build an integrated home cockpit. Hey, like I just said that, operated through Mini Cockpit's Data Link software plugin. The unit will also ship with a free mounting frame. I'll give them props for that. Mounting is becoming an issue with multiple developers, and I do not understand why. This is something that is starting to become a more common thing, so it's nice that they are actually mentioning it. This is probably why they are mentioning it. I am seeing more and more products being shipped without any way to physically mount them, so that blows me away. But anyway, the unit will also ship with a free mounting frame, enabling users of the mini FCU to mount the mini overhead alongside of it. So that's pretty awesome. Now, obviously the big one here, what does this thing come in at? Prospective mini overhead customers can expect sales to begin September of 2025 with the unit's price starting at $189 US. I will tell you, this product can release as well. This is pretty comparable to some of the other developers I'm seeing. Some are more expensive, some are less. So just stand by for more information on that. That's why I'm telling you, do your research before you purchase from anybody. Make sure you're getting what you want. The mini overhead will be offered via the manufacturer's website, and a discount will be provided for the early backers of the initial mini FCU Kickstarter campaign, which I think is dope, which sold out in a matter of minutes back in 2023. I do remember that. That was pretty awesome. That was like a lightning strike. Mini Cockpit also teased versions of the Airbus eCam panel and radio management panel. There are no further timelines provided on any of those or on the roadmap. Now, keep in mind that you now have WingFlex, who does have a mini radio management panel, which is already available, I believe. We talked about that previously last week. That also goes with their mini cockpit system, which is pretty comparable in price. So again, check your competition. Make sure you're getting what you want. To mini cockpit, I am going to make sure that I shout this out. Fantastic work. This looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm super excited to see how this thing comes into action. As always, guys, I hope you guys found this information useful, entertaining at the very least. Enjoyed watching me trip over my tongue. But stay safe and healthy, folks, and I'll see you guys in the next one.